A lot of people, especially in America and in Australia, a lot of people still think Chinese cars aren't very good. They think, well, if it's in a crash, you're going to die. Safety is going to be really bad. The truth is very different to what people believe. In fact, here are a series of crash tests of Chinese electric cars, which you can buy many of them outside of China. In fact, every car in this test you can buy outside of China. And it shows whether or not they're actually any good when you're involved in a major scary crash. Hello my friends, welcome to the channel. I'm Sam Evans, you're watching the Electric Viking. Great to have you with us. I want to say a big thank you to, well, all of you guys for supporting the channel on Patreon, and I'll put a link in the description below. Also, if you want to be a YouTube member, I'll put a link in the description. I recently test drove a Chery electric car. It was actually a really good car, aside from the lane keeping assist, which was pretty terrible. Other than that, I was amazed by how good it was for the price. It's very, very affordable here. They cost around 30,000 or a little bit less US dollars. And for that, you get a mid-sized electric SUV. But are they actually any good in a safety test? Well, here's a video showing you. This was actually live video done in front of an audience, and it shows the safety of Chery's electric car in a pretty crazy crash test. This is a pretty unlikely scenario, but it could happen. This triple car collision shows the strength of the Chery 2025 Exceed Stera ES EV chassis and the integrity of its battery pack. In fact, a lot of people think driving an EV, if you're in a crash, you're more likely to die. But in fact, the complete opposite is the case. EVs, thanks to most EVs now coming out of China, they've kind of jumped on this bandwagon of structural batteries. As you can see in this video, the structural battery is a huge part of the reason why EVs are actually much safer than internal combustion in most instances. This crash test took place in China with support from the China Automotive Technology and Research Center. And unlike the typical crash trolleys used in standard tests, Chery actually used 3 Exceed Stera ES vehicles. So you can see what happened when they all crashed into each other. The idea here and why they did this was to show you what happens in the real world. In the real world, all kinds of crazy things can happen. How fast were these cars actually going? I mean, that's a key issue, right? If they're only going slowly, then who cares? They were going pretty quick. In fact, 2 Chery EVs, both of the white ones, were doing 60 kilometers an hour. That's 37 miles an hour. And they struck the red vehicle from opposite angles. That's a huge amount of force because you got from 2 different angles, 2 cars going 60 kilometers an hour. One car, as you can see, hit the front right corner at a 30-degree angle. The second hit straight on, a T-bone, 180-degree hit. That's generally when you die, right? That's generally when you get hit from the side like that a car comes in, crushes you, and you die. This is a challenging crash test for any car, but from what I've seen in China recently, the crash test videos, you can see some crash test videos, this is actually not outside the norm. Enduring forces of around 35 tons or 70,000 pounds, the Exceed Stera ES appears to have completely maintained its structural rigidity. And if we have a look at these videos coming out of China here, I mean, here's an Xpeng G9, which was actually one of the safest cars in the world when they tested it. The G9 will be on sale in numerous markets next year. It's coming to Australia, which is kind of exciting as well. And watch this G9 crash test because the G9 was so incredibly good. It's not just Tesla doing well. You know, Tesla's Model 3 and the Model S, and I believe the Tesla Model Y, they were the top 3 ranked EVs or top 3 ranked vehicles, period, in the world when it came to crash safety test scores. But the Chinese are actually catching up. So their test scores are ranking similarly, not quite at that level, but nearly very, very close. And in many cases, they're better than internal combustion vehicles from legacy automakers. In fact, now in almost all cases. Here you can see the Zeekr 001 was crashed. And Zeekr had a really cool video that I watched at their factory in China. So when I was at their factory in China, they showed a video of their 001 getting hit from the side. A side impact at, I believe it was about 80 kilometers an hour. And the vehicle amazingly was totally fine. You could see the car in their factory that had been hit. They had it on display. And when you look at the structural batteries in these things, you can see why they're holding up so well from the side impact. Looking at this other car here, guys, I have actually seen some Volvo EX30s around. The Volvo EX30 is selling incredibly well. And this was one of the safest vehicles ever tested. You might be thinking, oh, Volvo, they're a European brand, Swedish, etc. But actually, no, these are all made, this vehicle in particular here, but almost all EX30s are actually made in China. Now, getting to the vehicle that I personally own, that is the Xpeng G6. The G6 was compared by Crash Test Channel to the Zeekr X, and both of these cars got 5-star safety ratings. Both did amazingly well, and they're two of the safest cars worldwide now. So you can buy the Zeekr X and the Xpeng G6 here in Australia. A car that also did really well, not quite as well, but the MG4, that did extremely well as well. There's a video here on how well the MG4 does, and I'll put a link in the description below, guys, to Crash Test Channel. And if you're going to buy an EV, you can actually see how it went in these crash tests. It seems to me that some cars do struggle a little bit with the chest impact protection on side impact crashes, and that seems common. But overall, the crash test ratings on these cars are just miles better than cars from 5 years ago. The difference is absolutely astronomical. To be honest, I don't know if you'd want a car that's 5 years old considering how much better they are today. Another car that did exceptionally well was the Leapmotor C10. You can buy the Leapmotor C10 now here in Australia, and it's about the price of a BYD Atto 3, even though it's the size, it's much bigger than the Atto 3, it's about the size of a Tesla Model Y. Today, if you get into a crash, someone hits you from the side, from the front, from pretty much anywhere, there's a very, very high probability you're going to be okay. There's going to be no major problems and issues, and you're not going to die. That's not the case for EVs, or in fact, not the case for any vehicles built 5 or 10 years ago. And it's one of the key reasons why I think it's worth upgrading to a new model of car. The safety of these newer cars is just so much better than it was only a few years ago. One of the reasons behind that is gigacasting, which some EV manufacturers are using, which is the Tesla's new innovation. But probably the biggest reason is these structural battery packs and the way that cars are being built today, which is much, much better than what they were built like 5 or 10 years ago. Fastest charging electric car outside of China ever tested in Europe. Charged the battery from 10% to 80% in 19 minutes. That's actually faster than any other EV, including any Porsche, any Kia or Hyundai. Even cars with 350 kilowatt fast charging, this is faster. You can charge the battery more than 100 kilometers of range in less than 5 minutes.